Hey everybody, it's Holly Burns here of Holly Burns Equine. Uh, this is going to be a video today on Lisa's horse, Magda. I hope I'm saying the word right. And I also want to let you know of some new developments with me as well that I'll be putting up on the comments, and that I now have a website for helping people with their tacked trimming and equine wellness. I actually am a wellness practitioner for my other life, my other career, and I help animals and people intuitively. And I also am adding in a new service as well. I'm adding in tacked trimming consulting because I love this so much and this is so fun for me. And we have some long-term plans with tacked to get something like that up and running formally in the future. But I felt a calling to do some more with that right now. And it's going to be really fun because everything that I'm doing will be also producing some passive income for tact, because a portion of all the funds brought in from my tact consulting, a portion of that is going to be given back to tact. So it's all exciting. It's really good. And my website is hollyburnsequine.com. So with that, we'll get going on Lisa's video here today. She's had some questions. We've been going back and forth for several months, and we're going to get up to date on a lot of stuff with her horse's foot today. Um, First of all, I think I'll start with the photos here. This is the left photo is her horse from a year ago or so, maybe a year and a half ago by now. And then this is her horse a year later. This was in 2024. So I think this is late 2024, somewhere in there. But anyway, I mean, it doesn't even matter exactly when it was. It's amazing. Like, look at the work you're doing. Wow, Lisa, that's this is unbelievable. Wow, is all I can say. Look how good you're doing. I know it's bad English. Look how well you're doing. Wow, that's just amazing. Look at the angles right here. Look at how angled down these lamini lines are back in the heel right here. And look how much straighter they are here. That is just amazing. So you go, girl. Good freaking job. That's just unbelievable. You're well on your way. She had a few questions about the middle of the foot because now that it's standing up, now look what's happening now. She's starting to get some other issues happening here. She's got uh some bending happening in the middle. So what's happening is, I'm just picking up now some thoughts about this, that she's been reshaping the foot. And so this, she's got a lot more hoof capsule going on here, right? With this other foot over here on the left. And so what's happening is she's shaping the foot to the proper shape. She still doesn't have all the foot she needs to have over here in the right picture behind the bulbs, right? She's still missing maybe this much capsule right here. So maybe about an inch of capsule in the back is missing. And so, because it's still bound up, down, curled around inside under the frog. So what's happening is that creates some pressure in the foot, and it tends to want to arch if it gets bound up too much. If this is pinching too much in the back, if it's too tight in the back, what happens is the inner anatomy, if you can imagine taking that inner anatomy and smushing it together in the back, what's going to happen when you do that to the middle of the foot? It's going to make the middle of the foot kind of spring out as a pressure relief situation. So that's what's kind of looks like it's happening here. And her toe is kind of pointing down here as well. And so we want to get that to straighten out here and relax so the foot can hit the ground nice and straight. Now, she might be beveling that as well. She did discuss that she was doing some beveling here, but I do see that some pressure points right here above the bevel even, which is why she's probably beveling, because she probably had some issues going on here. So let's continue on to the next thing I want to show you guys and show her. Here's just some more views of the feet. This is last June. So we can just get some more concepts going here of what's going on with the feet. You can see we've got a lot of bulb hanging out the back here. which is good. But because the heels are standing up, right? Because before this was on the ground. And so we've got to get that support going back here for these bulbs so everything can lift up and come back. And she's been beveling this out. And I'm going to think about that because I don't know if you want to bevel that much out right now because I'm just wondering, because you have so much bulb sticking out behind the back of your buttresses here, and the buttresses are working on standing up. I'm thinking if you take too much out right here, they might want to crush forward because there's an empty space there for them to go to, and they might need a little bit more support. So we might discuss a new game plan with this here where you keep this a little bit straighter so that the the foot can have a little bit more weight bearing area to be able to help everything because the capsule is so small compared to these huge bulbs you got going in the back right now. I don't know if we want to take any more out than we have out right here. So I'd like to get her feedback on why she did that. But she's doing so well with getting the foot to stand up. I'm not gonna question her too much because she's doing so well with all that. We're just tweaking from there forward now. So let's look at the next picture, and hopefully this is the right one. Let's see, what am I looking for? Yep. Oh yeah, we're on the second one. Yep. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Okay, now let's look at the heels. This on the left is, she said, a year ago, a few months ago. And then this was now. So that's a year's progress there between two pictures. And so let's look at what's going on there. All right. She was asking me about if the heels are longer and they're not filled in with sole yet, if that can cause the foot to stop expanding. My answer to that would be no. I don't think so. I don't think that would have anything to do specifically if that was the only thing going on in the foot, that would be able to stop the foot from expanding. If you're doing everything else that you need to be doing, I don't think that the process of filling in the sole in the back is going to stop the foot from expanding. That's my knowledge base that I'm pulling that on. One thing that Linda says to do is to keep your wall height around 1/8 of an inch above the level of the sole. Because if you do have too much above the sole, what happens is the foot doesn't stop expanding, in my opinion, but the walls can kind of just fall over and they can run forward and collapse and things because they do like that sole up to the edges, right? Because if you put 1,000 pounds on a super long hoof wall with no sole next to it, what's going to happen? That's going to eventually bend over in some shape or form, right? So you kind of have to find a happy medium to keep everything kind of coming up together but you know what? It seems to happen that way naturally. I mean, I don't usually have a big problem with that. I'm just trying to think back to my horse Lana. She didn't have any soul in there when I first started. And I don't even remember when it all just kind of came. It's just a process. You just keep mapping, you get your heels mapped, and you put them to where you want them, and the sole will just continue to fill in as it's supposed to. You just keep doing the tacked trim, and the horse's foot will take care of it on its own it's going to start growing how it's supposed to grow. So I don't worry too much about that. I let God take care of that part. So, but I do what I can do mechanically. I can't add sole in there, but I can put the walls to a length that I think is going to work well with what I want to do for my mapping that day and how much sole I got to work with, right? So we can make our decisions based on that. I try to keep it within reason, but I never like to sacrifice my length on my heels. Like I have never ever trimmed either one of my two horses shorter than 2 inches. When I started trimming both of them, they already had 2-inch buttresses, so I didn't have to deal with that part. But they did have to fill in sole. So, okay, you see here you've got sole below your hoof wall here in the back, but that could be that you need a little bit taken off right here too, because we can discuss that. The one length you didn't give me yet was your heel length. From what I like it is how Linda taught me, which is from the the highest point of the hairline, which here's the lowest part because the foot's upside down. The highest part of the hairline when it dips in, right, which would be right about here. If you see my mouse on the right picture here. And then you draw a straight line up to the top of the buttress. And so actually it's probably going to be more like right in here because it's usually a diagonal line. When you take her extra hair off the hairline, you'll see it's probably going to be right about here. It goes from about here up to here. And you measured that length right in there. Okay, on both sides. You map it from here, right about here, to up to the top of the buttress. You'll find when the heels aren't super contracted, that would be the highest part of the hairline. Yours are really, really contracted, but so you can, follow the line of your buttress there. You're probably going to come right down to right in here. You don't want to do that, but I mean, your horse is so contracted right here that the highest point of your hairline is actually way over here, which is not where you really want to measure from. You really want to kind of follow this line and go down to the hairline, and then they'll give you that length that you need right here. And it's supposed to be 2 inches American, which is not sure. It's probably going to be right around 6 centimeters, right? Because we've got 7 centimeters is 2.76 inches, and I don't have the centimeters conversion. I should start giving both on my videos. I should start giving inches and centimeters together, and I'll try to start remembering to do that for you guys that live over in other countries that use centimeters. So they don't look too long in the picture, but they might just be a little bit. So like right here next to the buttresses, you might need to flatten that off just a little bit. If it's not freshly right after the trim, that part can get kind of, wrangled after a few days even, and it can need to be, touched up, So I don't know exactly where you're at here from trimming. But this looks like a fairly fresh cut right in here. So let's see what you're doing. So here you look like my Marilana did. You tighter than Fort Knox, I call it. You're all just laced up tight right there. Just the gates are just shut, right? And so this is I'm on the left picture now, if you guys can see my mouse moving. And so we've got things moving in the right direction with what you're doing over here. And obviously, because you've had the heels standing up so much more than they were a year ago. So what we want to continually do is we want to continually give this area right in here at the back of the frog. You'll find a displaced frog stay. It looks like butterfly wings attached to the frog, like 2 triangles at each edge of the frog. And I think you might have trimmed them out on this photo. And so you've got like a split frog going on there because it looks like she's in the process of shedding her frog. So you could probably have just cut that whole thing off right there and just let the new frog come in. So we're looking at some old frog stage right here. Now, right in here, I would also work to get this to split all the way to the hairline. Like, see, it's got a crack all the way to the hairline on the left picture. And the right picture looks like it's a little closed back up again right in there. You want this to be open while you are having the contracted heel issues going on. Because anything that holds these 2 pieces of cartilage together will keep this whole thing from being able to open up. And so you really have to keep everything malleable right in through here. And you did a great job at the top. Look at everything you've taken out. Cleaning out all the old icky crap. That's freaking awesome. And you also did a great job of cutting down the extra frog on the buttress area, which I always do that too. That's one of my obsessions, is I got to give these buttresses room to breathe. If you leave them like this on the left, then the buttresses aren't free to be able to move and do what they want to do and they need to do. And everything on the whole foot needs to be movable until you get it anatomically correct. So you did the right thing by doing everything you've been doing here with the frog. I mean, it looks absolutely fabulous. I would say I need to get your measurement right here in your quarters. The quarters might be just a tad long right here, or just, if not, you can just give them a nice flat top, which I do like every trim. I'm kind of obsessed with that. Get a nice top. And if you can see, you go down in the heels and up over here to your quarters. Same thing you did here, down in the heels, up to your quarters. So I'm not sure what your heel measurement is, but you want to be cognizant of leaving this longer if you have a long enough heel. If your heels are long enough, which I think they are over here for sure, they look like they're plenty long enough. So we'll see how that measurement is. And if you start to go up right in here, that means you got to take a little bit off right here. You do not want this taller than your heels if your heels are long enough. Let's say they are, okay? Let's just say they are because they look like they are. They're a lot longer than they are over here. Although it's an illusion as well because you cut frog away. So, we don't know. I don't know for sure unless I know this measurement from here to here. That's why Linda developed it because we don't know what's going on underneath there. But the tip of the buttress will tell us if we have a good buttress because the heel naturally wants to grow a 1-inch buttress from here to here, 1 inch tall. And you can, to check that, you can put your ruler inside the collateral groove and measure the actual buttress only right here. And that should be roughly 1 inch tall. I'm going to pause for a second. I got to put some wood on my wood stove. I'm getting cold. Okay. I don't remember exactly sure. Let's see if we were done talking about buttresses. Yeah, we were. One inch here. Right. You want it to be 1 inch. So if it gets longer right up here than it does at your heel, and your heel is at the length you want it at for your size horse, I'm not sure. We haven't discussed how big your horse is, so we have to decide what is the ultimate sizes that we want her to be at. But let's just go with, let's just say you're at your optimal, okay? If it does go off higher, which looks like it does over here too, and looks like you've got your right side on this picture looks like it's a little higher than your left, and that could just be what happened at that moment. Might not have been a fresh trim photo, but it's definitely higher on the right. So, make sure that you map this right here and put a line right there so you know where you're filing on both sides every time you trim. And if you have problems with knowing how much to take off right here, I like to use a string. I put a string, I set the foot on the ground. I make a little line with my marker right here. And then, like, let's say it's at the top. Well, I just curve it around to here. I just like to make the line right to there with my marker so I can see where it was that I was filing to. And then I go around and I mark my pillars marking. And then I hold a string between this line all the way around and put the other side of the string on the pillar. And then I color in below my string, or above my string in this case, with marker. And then that's how I know when I have the foot flipped upside down again right here and I'm filing. That's how I know how much to take off, because I can keep flipping and I can peek around and see if I still have marker, right? And if I still have marker, then I know I have a little bit more to take off. So I get all that lined up before I file, and then I file to my marker lines. But okay, so we're gonna still, these got to still keep expanding and opening up right in here, and you're doing a great job of that. So just keep doing what you're doing, except for, like I said, this little thing here. And then when she does shed the whole frog, we can discuss the butterfly wings to make sure that you're taking those out with a groove in between. You want to have like an opening, like a little groove right in the middle, where that displaced frog state is, because it will hold the two sides together. It looks like it's not, but it is. And so there's a little flap that'll grow right here. And when the foot is anatomically correct, Linda just discovered a few months ago that that piece of anatomy that we've been trimming out right in here, that I've been trimming out for like 2 years now, that I found was incredibly beneficial to expansion of the heels. Well, guess what? It's supposed to be up here at the hairline. So when your bat wings and your butterfly wings, when your butterfly wings are at your hairline, then you know you're getting close to anatomically correct. But we got a ways to go. All right, let's look at a different view now, and we'll discuss your questions, because her questions were, how does she get the back of the foot to expand, and how does she get it to open up more? How does she get more to grow, to fill in behind those bulbs, right? And so we're gonna just kind of cover all these bases today. One of her other questions that she had was also if her frog has moved back. And I would say, yes, it has. She said the frog used to be up here, and now it's back here where the green line is. And she wanted to know if that meant that her frog had moved back. And unless you trimmed it, now, if it was too long 2 weeks ago, and you trimmed off the apex of the frog right here to find the true apex, then it could just be deciding not to grow back to where it was overgrown. So it could have been overgrown and adhered over the sole. But if it pulled back on its own, then it moved back. And if this used to be the spot where the true apex of the frog was, we know what that is. That's where the frog adheres to the sole. And you trim it back till you see the nice, clear, beautiful little piece of frog coming right up from the sole. not stuck over top of the sole. So you keep going back till you find the root, till you find the very bottom of the frog is coming up from the sole. That's the apex of the frog. So if your apex of the frog used to be here and now it's here, then yeah, it's moved back. If it was, like I said, over top of the sole and you were just trimming it back to here, your true apex could have been here the whole time and it could have just been overgrown. So I don't know which one happened, but whatever it is, it's in a good position now compared to there because we do want it to be when you have when your frog is way out in front and you don't have much sole in front of the frog, that usually means you got issues going on with the foot. So it's a really good sign to see your frog coming back. Definitely a good sign. And then you were asking me some questions about the areas in the bars. I can't remember what they were now. Let me see what the question was. If I X this out, let me see. Hold on a second. And you asked now if a fill-in was sold between the green line and the blue line. The answer is yes. It might have already, because this was a little while ago when you asked me this. Wow, well, I'd like to get a picture of before here, Lisa, to put in your next video to compare side by side because she said that where the purple circles are, she used to have frog. There used to be frog there. And so her whole frog is naturally pulled back. I was just reading what she said again here, and she said, well, there's a little tip of frog left here, and she was wondering if it's going to go away. So, like, you can trim that. If the true apex is back here now, I would trim it out. I would just get rid of that right in there. But maybe it's already done its self-trimming because what's going to happen is as the back of the foot is standing up, like this picture over here, as the foot is starting to stand up and come back, what's that going to do to that frog? You can see it's going to pull it back, isn't it? Because when this goes up and stands up, that's going to mean everything underneath that foot's going to move back about an inch. And that's what's happening. It's all moving back. Isn't that fantastic? This is so cool. I just love it. Okay, now when we see this view, we can also discuss what I was talking about earlier with the buttresses. And so let's take a look at that from here and just grab some tips about trimming the underside of the foot to get everything to keep expanding. Now that you've got that frog out of the way, let's make sure that we clean the seat of the corns out really well. So right here, you've got some residual kind of something, going on, right? Well, this is actually because this used to be real down low under here. So I bet this was real, what I call hooded. It was probably really hooded before you started trimming it correctly. What I mean for that is when these buttresses get rolled forward and they start tipping over the soles like a wave that would be crashing down over the sole. And then the horse walks on that and it becomes all flattened down to the sole. And so it kind of looks like it's hooded at the top of the feet there in the back. So you've got some residual hooding going on. So if it were me, I would be making my 2-inch mark. I would file my flat top. I would get my length from my heels around to my pillars with my dot and my string map, and I would file this down to the length it needs to be with my mapping. And then if there's excess going on right here, I would start to clean this up into here. This here is this is residual from when the foot was more forward, and we want to bring all that back. These buttresses right here, I think, are on the long side. This is real forward right here. See the tip of that buttress is way up here. It could probably end back here. When she does her mapping, you're probably going to find, Lisa, that you could take a little bit off the heel. So when you file that down, it's going to essentially visually seem like it just pulled the buttress back. Well, we want to encourage the buttress and the whole everything here to move back an inch or two, right? So after you file that, you're going to have some juju right in here. You're going to clean that out with your hoof knife. You're going to get in here and you're going to start just going like this, zoom, down the length of that bar. Another layer here, another layer here. You can also use an Evo bar and sole rasp. Let me show you what one of those looks like. These are the Evo bar and sole rasps. I couldn't survive without them. But I don't use a grinder, so I need these. These are my favorite thing in the whole world. What's great about it is you can use just the corner part right here, and it's narrow, so this will fit across the whole foot. You can use this little rocker part here, You can just um, take it and drag it across the bars in one direction. It only goes in one direction. So you just file it. I usually file towards myself. So you hold it away and then you file it towards you rocker your hand and you rotate you'll see there's a video on the website. So yeah, that's my favoriteest thing ever. It's Evo, EVOR 11. Well, I guess it's 11 evolutionary hoof care, but they call it Evo for short. So yeah, they're pretty great. See how you hold it like that? And then you just pull it. See, he's pulling it on the sole right there. So you pull it towards you. I hold it at a diagonal and go like this across the bars to get the hard part down. And then I can get in there with my knife and just finish because I've taken off the hard part. And even if your foot feels like cement when you first start, if you keep going over it and over it and over it, eventually it'll wear down that cement and start to break through and get some grip on the live sole. And then you can start after you get the new sole underneath, the teeth will eventually keep getting more new sole and more new sole every time you go across. So sometimes you got to go across like 10 or 15 times just to get a start on your bars. But then after that, it's really good. And I do like the black one better. My friend had the black one. I have this one. My friend, I thought this would work better, but actually, I find the black one actually works better. These teeth actually work better than these teeth. So I prefer that one, just so you guys know. Okay, so back to the picture over here that we were looking at. So that's what I would do is here. You want to bring the seat of the corn back to like about where the purple line is here. It really needs to be about here. So you're going to want to measure your heel from hairline to top of buttress at the 2-inch mark. It's probably going to be about here. And then you're going to file that flat across, right? And so then you're going to have this residual nice fancy white, new hoof wall, but then you're going to have these big flappy bars going on in here. So, and you got big flappy bars going on. See the big flappy bars? This is all bar flap that needs to come off. This is holding your foot hostage right there, and it's attaching there. So these are some of the things that you said, what should I do to make it expand? Well, that's a big thing right there. Big, 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 big thing. So we want to make sure we get our bars right. So to map our bars, we put our line at the top of our buttress and we go to the corner of the apex. And then we do the same thing on the other side and we go over to here and you get your line of where your bars should be. Because you might be a little not confident right now because everything looks so different and new right in here. So you're giving it a little bit of time, to shake down and see what's going on in here. Now, how far to take them down? I take them down to the level of the sole. I don't go below that. So I just take the stuff that's flapped over the existing sole around it. I blend it down to the existing sole around it, and like a day later, you'll find you have tons of bar again. Because you have a ton of compacted bar right now, so your bar is going to come back in like 2 days. So don't worry too much about it. I mean, don't dissect the whole thing out of there, but, you can definitely take this flap off. And so your bar mapping is probably going to end up going from here to about here. And so you're really going to go, oh my gosh. So my bar and your bar right here is attaching up here. See, you could be uncurling some buttress on this side, which is why this bar is attaching down a little bit from the end of the buttress. So you just got to keep watching for signs that this is coming out and getting wider and straighter. But for right now, we need overall length on your foot too. We don't just need the back to just open up. We need like the whole foot to get back to its normal, regular, everything long enough, big enough shape here. So we are just gonna keep an eye on this area a lot coming up because you're going to find that from here to here is where the hoof is going to start to, and see, that's what you're wondering about, like, how do I get this area in here, right? You've been filing some bevels right here, right? Well, let's see. I think I just saw a direct correlation between what's going on with the foot, right? This here is still being pulled forward. The foot wants to expand back, but it can't yet because it's being held hostage. So we're going to open up that by getting those buttresses in line. We're going to take some of this flappage off here and so you have a nice straight line at your bar. And I don't know, it's hard for me to see with the purple line over top of it. I can see if you have any new sole pictures. I think you do. Let's go check and see. Before I move on from this shot, I just found it without the lines on it as well. So I wanted to show you. See, as I had, the same thing I'd said before, but you can see it easier. So it's a little small. I think, oh, let's see now. Actually, if I click on this, it'll get big. Let's go over to here and look at it in the new tab. Then we can push the plus button and make it really big. There's a nice big view of it. Okay, so there you go. So see now, um, yeah, I can see where the frog used to be there, and it's pulling back. Now you've also trimmed it. You're trimming it, so you're freeing it up. So the whole frog was very much out of its boundaries, and you've been trimming it back in, and you know, putting everything back in its boundaries so that the foot can not be so slipped forward anymore. So that's all great work. And so, yeah, now you can see a collateral groove happening. You've got a nice, a nice crisp collateral groove here, like you were saying, because you've been trimming the edges of your frog and you've been releasing it so everything can pull back and come back. And there's your apex right there. And so, yes, this old line is your old line. This is your new apex location would be right in here, right there. So, good job. And like I said, all that has to happen. I mean, it has to happen. The foot cannot stay where it was and stand up and move back at the same time. The underside of that foot. Everything's got to slide back, just the same as the whole foot is coming back and up. Everything's got to move back and up. So that's the thing. So now we've got some bar issues that we want to make sure that you release all this, because this right here is all bar that's going over the sole and it's pulling your buttresses forward. All this is now a little lockup happening. When you start cleaning up this, I guarantee you, you are going to be really happy with what's going on, because you're also combining that with other things you're doing here at the back to keep your heels to expand. So you're getting the expansion happening here. Like I said, go down to your hairline back here. But if you get this taken care of right in here, you're going to really start to see more things happening you're going to get rid of that little fold and bound spot in the middle of your foot. And this foot's going to expand and relax and come back. And it's going to go, it's just going to relax in the middle and come down to the floor, but it's going to stretch back when it does. So to do that, you're going to want to, what I do is I know that I don't want this in here. So like, I'll just like, first of all, I clean my seat of the corn out with my knife. So first of all, I get my buttresses where I want them. First of all, I file the walls. File my buttresses, get them where I want them, get my quarters and my pillars all the way around where I want them. That's what I do first, because then it shows you. After that, it gives you a much more clear picture, I think, of what to do with your bars. If you start with the bars first, it's like what, when, and where. So for me, like, I don't know where to put them unless I know where my buttresses are going to be. If I know my buttresses are going to be right here, and I'm going to file there right about here, and right about here, if I'm going to file to there, then I know I don't need this. So I clean that out back to the buttress, because I try to guide everything back. And I learned this from Linda. It's some of her old days trimming videos where she said that. She's like, you have to guide it back. You have to guide the foot to come back. So you have to say, okay, we're going to be back here now. Remember, we're not going to keep creeping up anymore. We're going to be back. Here's our true buttress, and right back here is the bars. Well, if you want them back there, then take all this out. Okay? So you're going to want to get rid of all this flappage here. No more flap. No more flap. And so I don't think this is collateral groove from here to here. I don't think. I think you've got what I would start on this side. Like I said, I'm going to clean this out probably to about here when you map. You're going to clean that out. Then when you clean that out, you're going to clean this out. And you're going to start just by cleaning that out. And I start on the top and work my way back. Start forward, work your way back until you don't see this flap anymore. But I kind of think your true buttress, or you're not your true buttress yet, but where you're going to want your buttress to be right now is probably going to be somewhere around here. And then, so then your bar is going to want to be coming up right here to the edge of your apex over here, which is going to put your bar in here somewhere, which means all this is gone. And you're going to clean out a nice little U shape. a V shape, a nice little V shape right in here as well, okay? That's going to make a big difference. That's your big thing that you haven't been doing. Well, I don't know. Maybe you have been doing. This might be a picture where you're a little ways out from a trim because, those bars can do that in like 5 days. So, psh, I don't know if you have or haven't been doing it consistently, but I have a feeling that you haven't been based on what the foot is doing right now and what it looks like. So we're going to add that in and it's going to make a huge difference. Okay, this is the left hind foot, and the left picture is a year ago. The right picture is now. The hairline, mm, I'm trying to see what I see. Now, I see definite progress happening here. This was pressure pointed right here, right? Pressure right here. See that? That's what's going on that one. I think, is it your front foot this has this happening, or is this the only one you've been doing this on? Either way, this foot is doing better with this issue. See how right here you can see it was bowed in right here because it was bound right here. And now it's straightening out. And look at what the line's doing. It was going down, but then it's kind of going back out again. It's kind of going like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going up. Isn't that funny? And here it just went right here, right? And now it's almost as if it's staying going straight up again a little bit. It looks, you would think it looks like it's higher in this photo, but I really think it's an angle of the picture because when I really look at this hairline, this one kind of looks like it's going down right here, doesn't it? Which would also match the boundness of the hoof right here. So the hairline right here, oh, she's got more buttress here. It's more straight. This is more angled down. But really, if you look at the hairline itself, I don't think so. I think this one takes a nosedive right here. And see how there's less cartilages right here? And this one's got more cartilage happening in the back. It's expanded back. You know why? Because she's made room for it. And then the foot is unbound. The inner foot has gone, thank you. Now I can fit somewhere. I have somewhere to go. So the digital cushion is moving back under the navicular bone like it's supposed to be, which unbinds the middle of the inner foot. So good job. Really good job. Okay, these are up-to-date pictures. This is the right front. Um, I'm just trying to understand her labelings, if that's lateral front or left front, but she told me it was right front. So I don't know, it doesn't matter to me. I was looking at the feet. She knows what her feet are. She knows. That's all that matters. Okay, let's look at the status. Well, I think I pretty much deduced what you need to do next, Lisa. I think we've pretty much covered it. You can see there is a little crack going on right there, on this foot. And so that's good. Now, if it were me, I would just test it with my finger. If there's anything holding that together, then I would just do a little teeny trimmy. But you don't even have a periople rope going on in there. So that could be okay. That could be good. Look at how, I mean, are you kidding me? Like this foot was on the ground a year ago, and look at your buttresses picking up those bulbs, and everything's gonna start to just keep coming up and up. So, you're just making really good progress. I'm not seeing anything. Look at from where you were. Now, it could have been some of the camera angle too, making it look like it was really laying down, but because I can see how if you had it at a different angle, it might look like it's laying down a lot more. So this one's rounded down and laying down a little bit more on this foot. And these lines are really coming down, and this is, pulled down. Now, let's just be the view because we've been looking at this from multiple views and looking at your feet from multiple views. Let's see if we have any other views of that foot. I think, I can't tell if that's the same foot or not, but that goes down around right in, doesn't it? But that's in the shadow, so it's hard to tell. But basically, you're just in that stage of you got to keep doing what you're doing. You're going in the right direction. You just got to keep unbinding your back. This will keep uncurling and then growing down more buttress. And then you'll see more buttress coming out from in between. We'll watch the progress that happens. Now, I do want to discuss your toe length and your pillar lengths. When you were giving me the dimensions, you actually gave me dimensions that your pillars were longer than your toes. But when I see your filing, you go up right there quite a bit on both sides. So let's discuss that. See, you've got it up right here, and then you have a long toe. And then you've got like a bend going on right here at the middle of the foot still. On this foot, it's more bent in right here, which means it's more bound. And you can see the back's real bound because we're still releasing those backs. But you know what, if you change what you're doing in that seat of the corn and the bar, that's going to really make a difference on everything being able to stand up. And keep on top of your trimming cycles as well. Don't go too long. When the foot is in this stage, it's super important, I feel, to keep up on the quarters right here, right where it wants to get the longest and the bend is. See where the bend is and see where that meets. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Oh, what a surprise. These lines meet these lines. Oh, what does that mean? That means that's your pressure point right there. Where that line meets that line, if you're going to bend anywhere, that's where it's going to bend. Now, you don't want to leave that too long under there. When it starts bending, you want to relieve that pressure underneath there just a little bit. You could take a millimeter off, but it can just really help the foot to be able to come back and stand up from, see this line here, this line will want to be released and stand up and come back. But if it hits the ground right here, because everything's too long, then it just turns into a flare. I've tried before to try to get different things happening with buttresses on a DSLD horse I was working on last year that I had to be so careful about taking off his heels. And so we tried leaving them longer than the mapping. You know, we just tried to leave them longer and it didn't work at all. They just collapsed and became flares. So it's like you try, but you can't. So now it doesn't stop the foot from expanding, but it will cause the foot to collapse. So like back to your original question. And I'm thinking, would that cause the foot to stop expanding? Well, no, you could just have you could have a wider foot with a collapsed heel. Because my gelding does. He's got a wider, less bound foot with a collapsed heel. Um, so, you know, back to my original, I just lost my train of thought now. What were we talking about with the, when I was talking about it bowing in right there and the lines coming in? I forget what I was saying, but I think I got my point across with the sole underneath and it bending in here. We want this to come back. Oh, I know what I was saying. I was saying like right here, we want to plane that off just a little bit. And then I was saying, because with the other foot, if you try to leave this, it can't stand up. That's what I was saying. If it gets to a point where it's locked in right here and it can't stand up, then it will kind of just lock up right here. So that will kill the expansion more than anything, is this heel being in a locked spot where it's like, okay, I can't go any further. So it helps a lot to aid it. When it gets to a point where like that line is like, oh, I'm on the ground and I want to straighten up more. But with you don't have that problem because it's pretty trimmed off right here. I mean, we might be talking, you know, 2 millimeters right off right here where this bow is bowed in. And then, so we have a bow like here, but I don't know if it's just the picture in the camera. I mean, it looks like your foot comes down right here, and then you got something going on here, something going on here. And I think all this can be remedied in here if you start doing the string mapping. So you mark your toe, and then you go over 2 inches, and you put a dot. Then you go up to the hairline following your lamini line. And I have a video on it. It's called the string mapping video. Just watch it on my channel. You go back to here and you measure along those lines lined up with your dot. And you mark from the hairline down 2 3/4. If you're doing a 3-inch toe. No, that means to tip a toe, not to the floor. If you go to the floor, you want 3.5 inches. I always just measure to the toe because I never have a decent surface. My horses are standing outside on dirt and I can't measure evenly to the ground. So I just realized that the last 1/2 inch is kind of from the toe to the ground with the ruler, the way the rulers are. So I just go 3 inches to the toe. So But that on my size horses. So we haven't discussed your ultimate size yet, but let's just say it's 3 inches. So you go here to here, you've got your 3 inch mark. You go over 2 inches, you're going to want to go 2 3/4 inches. So you go to your pillar line up here, you follow this vertical lamini, see the angle of the lamini? You follow that down and you make a dot at your 2 3/4 inches. So let's say that dot is right there. Well, you're going to make your dot there. Then you're going to go down here. You're going to measure your buttresses where you had them or where you're going to put them. Well, I always file them first before I do the other stuff. I get my heels done, and then I set the foot down and do this part. So you've got your buttress line. You got your little marker line down right down there. You take your string. You string it straight across to your pillar line. If you consistently do that, then you'll start getting rid of this fold right here, and this will settle down and you'll be like, oh, this is a little long. I see, this is under the string. So what happens is what's underneath the string comes off. Anything under the string. Now, you got to make sure you're not accidentally holding your string too high. So you want to make sure that you're conservative with where you've got your string along the side of the foot. But it can really help you where to put your line. Then I take a marker and I color below the string. Anything below the string comes off. And then I blend that in with my toe. And I just go around and do the same thing on the other side. If you start doing that, you'll start to have more confidence on where to take off and where to leave. Because this is a little kitty wampus right here with the toe being pointed, then this kind of being flared up like a wing, and then this kind of being long. So let's just start getting something even going on here so I can see what's going on. I'm having a tough time understanding if this is a fold in the foot or if this is just how you're trimming it because I'm seeing it from a one-dimensional photo. So let's just say that we want, because the measurements you gave me, you actually said your pillars were 3 3/4 inches long, is what you said. You said they are upwards to 8.5 centimeters. And if they were 8 centimeters, that was still 3.15 inches long. And 3.35 inches long. That's a really long pillar. And then your toes were sitting at 2.95. So you're backwards. Toe too short, pillars too long. Okay? So we're going to start mapping toe, pillar, quarter, or heels, string mapping the sides, and blending. Okay, let's start doing that consistently, and then we'll see where you're at. Let me see if there's anything else I can hit with these pictures. Let's go this way. Same thing here. Yeah, I don't understand why your pillars are longer when they're shorter. So I don't know yet until I see what you're doing. I can't see exactly where the toe is. This is a really funky angle. It looks like the toe is there, but then this is really long. So if that is what you're doing, that's opposite. If that is the tip of the toe, if it is, then we got to change some stuff around. You got to lengthen your toe down to 3 inches, and you got to take this off to 2 3/4, because it's supposed to be 1/4 inch shorter than your toe. Okay? Pillars or toe quarters are 1/4 inch shorter. And those are 2 inches over from where you mark your toe. And then you go from there, your pillar mark, to back to your little dot for your heel. And then you go across and you decide where you're taking up. But then you should have toe down to here, if that's the case. Okay? So let's see what's going on with that for next time. And then, of course, these will stop going bye-bye. This will keep opening up. As you release those bars underneath the foot, that's going to allow this to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. Yeah, the toe is short, your pillars are long. We want this opposite. We want your toe longer, your pillars shorter. Okay? Let's do that. And see the red mark? That's because your pillars are too long. You get, this happens all the time. You'll get a bruising right here at the pressure point when the pillars are too long. I see this all the time, right in here. And some people say, well, that's an old stress bond that's moving out. It can be, but it probably got there from your pillars being too long. So that's a telltale sign for me. What I have found in my experience, it causes that. God, I hope I'm recording. Okay, I am. Good. If I wasn't, that would have really sucked. Okay. So you can see we've got work to do here, and that's all going to keep coming along, okay? Because the lines go down to the ground still, right? And at the end, they're going to go back, and they're going to go straight, and they're not going to go down. So we're working on that. While that is still like that, you have incredible pressure right in here. This is where all the pressure, see red? red, pillars long, toes short. Now, this could be a bevel, but still, this bevel should be down to like the ground. It should be down here. So you're going to want to, well, I mean, I'm not sure yet. Maybe you want to bevel all around. I'd have to see because maybe this is a 3-inch toe and it's just beveled a little bit in front. But it looks like you might be able to bring your toe a little longer and then do your bevel more about right here. And then you're going to bring this right into a 1/4 inch shorter and you're going to blend around to here. You see that? And if you do that, that could get rid of this bend right here. That could get rid of that in one trim if you do that. So let's just see how that's happening, okay? Do that mapping, 3-inch, 2 inches over, do your dot, start at the hairline, come down, mark your dot at 2 3/4, take your string from bottom of buttress around to pillars and see what you got, okay? And then we're going to blend that in and you're going to let your toe go down to the 3 inches and then do a bevel. Then after you get the lengths you want, then you can just bevel a little bit to make it rounded, to make the breakover rounded. That's really incidental. Your hoof would be fine if you don't do that at all. I just want you to get the proportions right first, okay? So let's start with that and the bars. And then here's another sole picture. That's the sole picture we just looked at. Now see how it's long right here? That's another telltale sign that you're consistently leaving your pillars too long. The foot's naturally doing a trim on the toe. And the pillars are staying really long. This happens on a lot of horses. My mare does this all the time. I have to constantly trim this off to help the whole foot be able to, it really helps her comfort. When these are too long, she doesn't like it at all. I've never seen a horse that likes it. My mare, Lana, she used to trip consistently until I started being really diligent about keeping these pillars short and beveling them. So first of all, I shorten them to the length I want from underneath. File, file, file. I'd file a little bit of an angle to file these down at like a 45-degree angle. And then I'd go around and I'd bevel around the edges from the quarters around the front of the toe around to here. And boy, did that make her happy. And I found that's my secret key to any horse that trips. I start doing that consistently and I trim it before every ride. I touch it up every time I ride her or him, my gelding will trip too if I do the same thing with him. So it's really important for them. And I think it's much more comfortable for their bone structure. And it keeps their legs more comfortable and their breakover more comfortable. So everything just relaxes and their whole body feels so much better. So you do those things and you should have a huge difference start to happen really soon. I think that's everything for this time. Yeah, see, you've got your toe now. I don't know if what you're doing here, why that's short, if you're purposely making that short or what's going on with that. But see, we want this opposite. We want this long and this shorter, not this longer and this shorter, okay? So we're going to flip that around and then see your line. See, look at, see? Okay. You're getting jammed up right here because this is too long. So the lines will tell you what's going on. So this is where it should be. It should be down to here. These lines should be settling down to here. And you've got the red marks here, which is your stress lines. So that means you've been leaving your pillars too long for a while. So we're going to grow this toe out down a little bit. But you're going to want to do that because if you're going to take off pillar, you got to give the inner anatomy somewhere to go. So you want to have a full-length toe going on, okay? So get your toe down, get your pillars up, and that should take care of this wavy line you've got going on right here. Because that is definitely bruising and jamming going on. Because every time she walks, what's happening? She can't do a normal breakover because this is really kind of negating. If you are beveling that, it's negating it right here. That's right there just pounding it. That's what's hitting the ground. Pound, 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 pound. Although, from underneath, it will look like they're wearing down their toe. And maybe she is wearing down her toe. I mean, maybe how she's walking is self-trimming that. That would be really freaky, though. I don't really know how she could be doing that. It looks better from this angle, unless this is a different foot. See, that looks a lot better. But we'll just get to the bottom of this whole thing for next time. See there. She could be self-trimming that, but that usually happens when the whole foot's been too long. So the whole foot's been left too long around the whole front. It can get like this from this scenario. This is all left too long for a few weeks. And, let's say you're really busy. You don't have time to trim. Okay? Common, right? We're busy. We're sick. We can't get to the trim. They'll self-trim the toe back and they'll hit that on the ground, because what happens is that will drag. When they walk, they'll kind of drag their toes, and that gets worn down. And then this doesn't get worn down as much. So that's what happens with domesticated horses. So you have to help them out. And we're definitely going to be rounding that up. You don't want a square front. If you have a square toe, that's an indicator right there that this is too long and that's too long. I can guarantee you, because that's what happens on my horses. Every time they get like this, these are about a half inch too long. And yours are measuring, guess what? Oh, about a half inch too long. Maybe even longer than that. Because you've got a 3 3/4 inch pillar, or I mean, sorry, a 3 1/3 inch pillar, and you want that to be 2.75. So let's do the math on that quickly. And 3.35 minus 2.75 is 0.6. Oh, 0.6 inches. What did I just say? A half inch too long. Ta-da! If you get a square toe, your pillars are about a half inch too long. So I think we're finding out the natural length for your horse, too. I'd say her toe is probably good at 3, and her pillars are probably good at 2 3/4. So let's try that and see how that works for you. Okay, okay. I think that's all for you for this time. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. And once again, if you would like any individual help, like these people are getting, you can see my website at Holly Burns Equine. It's all one word, hollyburnsequine.com. And I have all different types of services with the tact consulting. I tried to have something for everybody's budget. So hopefully there'll be something for everybody that can be helpful. Okay, so see you again. And once again, of course, if you want more information, you can see the main tact YouTube page on the Happy Hoof or the Anatomically Correct Trim. If you put either one of those two, if you put the Anatomically Correct Trim in, you'll get our page. If you put in the Happy Hoof, you get our page and other pages too. So I would put in the Anatomically Correct Trim. And you can see our main page, and of course, our main Facebook page is at the Anatomically Correct Trim as well for Linda's foundational work that this is all based off of. So thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. Talk to you later.